I know, I'm still enamored with my new fancy camera.
It's very pretty.
Thanks to HDC Fabrications for recommending my snazzy camera. I don't even know what it is. I would have to look. I don't know. What is my camera? Oh, look, a box. It is a Nexigo camera. I went, look at all these cool features. Oh, that price is good. Purchase. So that's all I really know about it right now. That's
excellent.
That's it. It has a remote. I can do things with a remote. It has a whole menu. It's a snazzy camera that we'll need for something that we'll talk about later.
All good things.
All good things.
Yep. I'm Ash, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I'm Elle.
And we are Lovey Cosplay.
This is Shit Cosplayers Say, and this is the wrap-up episode for Season 3. We have completed 3 seasons of this show.
That's crazy.
It's nuts to think about.
I feel like when we started this 3 years ago, we had no idea.
No, we had no idea
what this was going to turn into.
No, we had no clue.
Yeah.
This was not, we did not think we'd still be doing this 3 seasons later. We did not think that we would have listeners in 49 states because no one lives in Wyoming.
Because no one lives in Wyoming.
And Canada is catching up to the United States here. Toronto is now our 3rd city. So Toronto is catching up, but all of British Columbia is still more than Toronto as far as the downloads. So,
yep.
But no, who would have thought that we would be on 3 seasons, that we would have a comedy live show that goes with our podcast that we take to conventions. And now, after all the unpredictability of the last 3 years, we are finally going to conventions.
Well, that's odd.
Woo! I know. It took a while, but we're finally going to con. Speaking of con, we have our first guesting announcement for 2023. We will be guests at Planet Funk Con in Davenport, Iowa, August 25th through the 27th. We do not know if we're doing the 18 plus show. My guess is going to be no. This is a Comic-Con, so they don't have late night programming, which means you will likely have the opportunity to see our all ages show at FunkCon, and we will be back in the judging seat for this convention. So bring us your crafts and we shall judge them.
I shall judge them.
There will be more information about the contest as we get closer to. I know they're going to be doing some revamping and some changes, so stay tuned for that. But that is still our only known plan for 2023 at this point. And we're recording mid-January. So as of mid-January, this is all we know. It's still weird.
It's more than we knew last time we recorded an episode.
It is more than last time we recorded an episode. And since last time we recorded an episode, we have also been asked to appear on a couple other podcasts. So we will be on Cost Talk Live on their Twitch Saturday, February 12th at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. So come join us for shenanigans with the Cost Talk Live crew. And then we will be on Cosplay Cafe on their YouTube and Twitch on Friday, March 3rd at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So both of these podcasts record live, so you have a couple opportunities to catch us live on those dates. We will post on our Instagram, of course, with that information as we get closer to the dates as well. So our hiatus is in a weird spot this year because of Spain. Usually we take it over the holiday, but because Spain, we had to take it like smack in the middle of September because of when Spain was. We are going to be gone until March 19th, so a short period of time. And we will be uploading bonus episodes in between, so there's still going to be material to listen to. We just won't be officially starting the season until March 19th. That is the plan at this point.
Yep. So you won't really be missing us because we'll send you postcards in the form of other episodes.
Yes. Well, and if you really need more of us, you can start joining us live on Twitch. It's true. So one of the things that we've both been struggling with, or at least I know I've definitely been struggling with it, is not having a competition due date is making it really hard for me to do anything. I don't know what I want to work on because I don't have anything that has to be done. So then I just kind of like flit around or I forget to work. So one of the ideas I had was to do like a very casual crafting stream for like an hour a week. And this isn't a tutorial stream. It's not an instructional stream. It's more like a body doubling option where like I have this designated scheduled time where I'm going to work for 1 hour on something and you're welcome to join me. And body doubling it's typically referred to as like an ADHD coping mechanism, but it's basically two people working on something in the same space. And by doing that, it like helps you keep working because they're working.
Is it similar to the concept of like parallel play?
Yes, it's a very similar concept. Kind of comes from that. But like this person's working, so you're also working and you kind of keep each other going that way. So you can come and join us on Twitch whenever you feel like it, or if you feel like this helps you, knowing that there's like a scheduled time each week that you can join someone and work. Any video on Twitch stays up for 2 weeks, so you also have the opportunity to grab it at a different time if you want that opportunity to have that body doubling. And you know, we'll both chat back and forth with all of you as well through the chat stream. Twitch now has this fun feature where you can just randomly bring somebody on. So we might bring a friend on with us to also film and craft while we're working. But like I said, very, very casual. There's not going to be fancy camera angles, fancy lighting, none of that. It's just hopefully a way to help me keep moving forward. I believe Ash will join us when she can. But it's just a way to help keep things going. Because otherwise I have a bad feeling I'm just not going to do anything. Which is kind of how it's been. Like, I can get like my rhinestones for, you know, Joanna done right now. But my machine's back and Hinato's still sitting in a box. I should be pulling her out and finishing her, but it's hard. Because I don't have this like soon to be due date sitting for her. So it's tough, and we're trying to do the thing where you finish the costume and then you go to the con, because that is the healthier way to do it. But when you've been doing it the other way for so long, it takes a lot to change that routine. So this is like my attempt to try to change this routine. The stream will be on Sundays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on our Twitch starting February 26th. Now, obviously, if we're at con or something, it may or may not happen. I mean, if I have my computer and the hotel, like, Wi-Fi works and it's not a con that we're going back to, like, maybe we will hop on for a short period and be like, hi, how's everybody doing? But we'll keep you in the loop. But ideally, unless there's some big conflict, one of us will appear at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on Twitch on Sundays starting February 26th. So that's the plan.
That is the plan.
We'll see how this goes. I mean, I'm trying. I think I've set it up so it's not like extensive amount of work. Because like I said, we're not going to get fancy with this. So my beautiful fancy camera will come with me into the room. But I'm not going to be doing any like snazzy lighting or angles or tutorials. Or it's just me working on something in a room. And we all can chat through the chat if you want to. But that's just the purpose, is to kind of have that body doubling experience and that responsibility that like I need to get on here at this time on this day of the week and work on something. We'll see if it works.
Our executive producer is agreeing with you.
He is.
Yes, if you can't hear him.
He was singing earlier, so.
Yes.
Maybe we should have him sing for our 100th episode.
Yes, speaking of singing, so for those of you that have been with us since the beginning, or those of you that have gone back and listened to our whole catalog, we are in the 70s for episodes right now, and we promised you something very special for our 100th episode, which was a musical episode. Now, going back to what we were talking about, I think when I conned Elle into agreeing to do this for our 100th episode, she probably never thought we were actually going to get there. But that is still the plan. We're going to do our best to get you a musical episode. What it ends up being is going to depend on a lot of different things. There's a lot of legalities involved with things like songs that already exist, and there's a lot of work involved with writing things from scratch. So we're going to figure it out, and we're going to do what we can. We've got some cool ideas we've been throwing around, but that will likely be your season opener for season 5.
So we can't promise it will legit be Cosplay the Musical, because as Ash mentioned, we're running into a lot of weird legal complications with this concept. One of them being that we may be only able to release it on YouTube because of the way that copyright laws treat radio and podcasting very differently than YouTube. So we're trying to figure out what the best way is to actually create that, because it went from we're going to do this silly episode, we're going to call it this, to now I think we could actually do like a musical show that we could do at a con. So you may get a taste of it for the 100th episode. We'll see. But something of a musical something will occur.
There will be an episode and there will be singing.
Yes.
That is the only thing we can guarantee at this point in time.
That's all we can guarantee that will happen, but we will make sure there is an episode and there's singing involved.
Yep.
So 2023 is very different from the rest of the years that we've had with this podcast so far, because for the most part, COVID has integrated into our society.
Has it been 84 years?
It feels like it's been 84 years. It does feel like 84 years. I think we're still in 2020. Like, it just seems like one giant year.
It's 2020 plus 3 at this point.
So something we'd like to try doing is actually go to a con that's not in the Midwest. I have never gone to a convention outside of the Midwest, so I would like to experience that.
I mean, you did when you lived in New York?
Well, yes. Okay, so, I mean, Spain, obviously went to Spain, and I did go to, so when I lived in New York, I went to NYCC, I went to Anime Next, but I haven't gone to a con outside of the Midwest at my current, like, competition craftsmanship level, because when I went to, I wasn't doing cosplay anymore when I went to those conventions. I did them for work.
Well, and when I did that too, I was doing them for work. It was part of my college internship. I traveled around the country and went to a bunch of cons, which, let me tell you, is a great college internship experience. But again, it wasn't for cosplay. It was for work, and it's totally different.
Yeah, so I'd like to experience it at the level we are now, just to see, like, how different it is and whatnot. And that will roll a little bit into our guesting experiment. We'll see, but we're hoping to try to hit something that isn't the Midwest, which does mean we have to fly. If we're trying to hit a coast, we're going to have to fly, but we'll see how it goes. I know a lot of you have been asking about when are we returning to competing. We're hoping to compete at least once, but we don't want it to be all consuming again. ICL was very, very consuming for a lot of reasons. A lot of that had to do with the whole pandemic situation. So we did make the decision that we are not doing another international this year. So I know a lot of people were hoping that we'd hop right back on the train, but we just don't think we can do it right now. It's too much.
I feel like we've earned, after being stuck in like our holding pattern for ICL, I mean, we started doing our planning in 2018. 2019 was consumed by crafting, and then it's been 2020 for the past 3 years. So I feel like we've earned a break, and we can take a year off from it, and it'll be okay.
I just want to go to some cons. I don't want all my time off pooled into one convention, basically. I'm not...
And one costume.
Yeah, in one costume. I just want to make some stuff, which we'll talk about that. Well, and we were looking at GCOF. GCOF was the next one we were looking at, but home at, the rumor is it's Christmas weekend. So, no thanks. Honestly, I don't know if I'll ever be able to go home at. Home at's at a terrible time. Maybe when they move to the new convention center, it'll move away from Christmas. and then it won't be horrible.
I wish it was like one weekend before.
Right?
It normally
Like either
is.
one weekend before or like one weekend after Christmas. Or 2 weekends. Like
2 weekends.
Because even if it was
say the
New
weekend
Year's
after New
weekend,
Year's.
like that would be fine. But like not the weekend before Christmas or the weekend of, which rumor has it those were the dates that were seen by people at the con this year. So we'll see if it's true or not. That seems very silly, so I would hope not. So if we're not focusing so heavily on our internationalists and competing, we would also like to try to remember to actually take photos and video while we're at a convention.
Well, that's really weird.
We've never remembered to do that in like almost 10 years.
We might get like a selfie and then we're like, oh yeah.
Like the fact that we got a video on the stairs at North was pretty impressive. Like we go, especially if we're working. And we haven't gone to a con and not been working for so long that I don't know if it would be easier to work these things in when we're not working or not. Because, like, we haven't done that in forever.
No,
like,
we haven't.
We only went to cons if we were working and they were paying for us to be there because financially with Spain, we just couldn't, do it. So,
well, and even when we've tried to go to cons for fun, we always end up doing programming or something else. So, I can't remember the last time we went to a con just to go to a con.
We don't do that. We only go if we're doing programming or we're competing. There's no reason to go otherwise. Like, that's what we do when we go to cons. So there's no reason to go if we're not doing that. I mean, seeing your friends is nice, which we'd like to do more of. We would like to carve out more time to see people, perhaps pick conventions so we can see people. I know I really missed everybody from Fusion last year, so I'm going to try to go. Fortunate that my work schedule is changing in a way that greatly benefits me for going to con.
Yeah.
When you work somewhere long enough, you start getting the good days that's when you work tens and you start getting the good days as your days off, It's the way it goes. I'd like to see more people, focus a little bit more on that and not so much like, we were going to cons and still working on stuff for ICL. We were going to cons and rehearsing because that was the only time we could get together. Like, I want to go back to like being able to see people and remember why we go to con, why we do this to ourselves. The focus of the next season is going to be why. Like, what is this community that we've held on to for 20 plus years? What does it mean to be a part of this community? What are the different factions of this community? Because the community is more than certain group of cosplayers. Like, there's so many other people involved in this community. So we will be exploring that for season 4. But we also have podcast work to do too that we have to decide on. I promise you we're getting this thing on YouTube, people.
Yes.
It is a major goal for us for this year. It is a high priority that we finally get this on YouTube. I know you all have been waiting and begging for it to be on YouTube. I did a poll and there are so many of you that will listen to this if we can get it on YouTube. So we're gonna do it. There's like one missing piece left, and then we should be able to start cranking them out and sticking them up there.
So many.
We figured out the whole like making a photo into a video thing and whatnot. So now we just have to get the file and then sync it and wait forever and then put it up there. So, however, it does look like YouTube removed their closed captioning feature in the unpaid version. So, our whole idea that this was going to give us our transcripts is not going to work. TLDR about that. Because
to be continued on that.
Yeah, we're just
whole spiel.
Going to be back to figuring out how we're going to get transcripts without paying for a service that does our transcripts. But maybe if we figure some other things out, we might be able to pay for a service that does transcripts. Because we are still trying to figure out whether or not we want to do an LLC, what we want that to look like. Do we have time for it? But then that would ultimately lead us into having an online store for merchandise, which many of you have asked for a long period of time, as well as boothing at conventions, and then Patreon, which I know many of you have been waiting to see what the Patreon would be.
So have we.
I think we have it pretty figured out what it'll look like. I just have to make sure that it's manageable between the two of us and how we want. So we have to have business meeting finally and go through like what we think we can handle, what we think we want this to look like, what do we want our revenue to pay for, so we can ultimately figure out if it's worth it or not, if it's something that can be managed, all that jazz. So, it's not something you want to just jump into and hope it's going to work. Like, we've got to make sure it's something that fits, since we, as we say so many times, we both work full-time jobs.
Well, and obviously, we've been doing this for 70 plus episodes at this point, so it's not going anywhere anytime soon. You're stuck with us.
But it would be nice to have some revenue come in, largely so we can get to you, which we will talk about that next here. But, one of the things that we really like to do is be able to bring the live show outside of the Midwest. We are attempting to submit to conventions for the first time ever. In previous cases, all our guesting appearances have come to us. We haven't really reached out to conventions to have us show up. We are sticking to the United States and Canada. We would really like to go to British Columbia, because after Illinois and Minnesota, British Columbia is our third to fourth highest, depending on the day. It bounces back and forth with Iowa. So, we would love to get to your neck of the woods if we could, and we get that growth of something like our podcast is really dependent on being able to get to you, which is what we would ultimately be using the Patreon and the Teespring and the table merchandise to do, is to help us pay to get to you. Because conventions don't necessarily like to pay for guests. It's just a thing. Sometimes you can get it to happen. A lot of times you can't. And also, only sticking with cons that are going to bring you as a guest limits what conventions you can go to. And so there are cons that we really, really would like to do that we think the live show would do really well at, but probably are not going to bring us as guests. So our intent would be to take that revenue and put it back into the show so we can actually bring the live show to all of you. But we are going to do a little experiment. I have a ginormous spreadsheet. It's color-coded. It's huge. And I'm going to be using it to track some data that we will talk about at the end of the season. I know a lot of people are curious about how this whole guesting thing works, what happens when you send things out. I see a lot of stories on Instagram is it just me that I'm not getting responses? And I think what we're going to be able to show you is it's not just you. So we're going to track how many cons we submit to, when we submitted to them. Typically, it's about a 6-month in advance thing that is recommended usually. Of those cons that we have contacted, how many did we already have a connection with? How many actually respond? How many asked us to work for free? Which we've already had 2. So we've already had 2 that were yes, we would really love your programming. Please come and submit it. No, that's not. I mean, I'm grateful that they responded. That was really nice, but that's not what we were. That's not what I was thinking. And then ultimately, how many we end up doing. And now Ash and I have talked about this a little bit already, but both of us are kind of on the same page where we don't expect a lot of responses. I expect that when we do get responses, a lot of them will want us to work for free, which our contract is ridiculously reasonable and we probably undercharge. So we are not going to give out any specifics about these cons, by the way. So we're not giving you contact information for them. We're not giving you what they were willing to pay for us, what they weren't. None of that. They deserve to have their privacy. So we're not going to share that. But we were kind of talking about this the other day and we both kind of agreed we don't think we're going to book anything that we weren't already going to book already. And that makes sense. If you've met somebody in person, you have a working relationship with a convention, or you have a working relationship with someone who is close to the convention who can bring you in, you are more likely to book. But, obviously one of our largest barriers is the fact that our social media numbers are really low. So for a lot of conventions, why would you book the crafter with the low numbers when you could book the crafter with the high numbers for the same amount of money? Or less in some cases. We get it, we try, but social media doesn't like us. We just cannot build our numbers no matter what we do. We have that kind of against us. We don't have the numbers. We did start submitting late as well. So we lost about a 4-month period of time because we were too busy with Spain. And so we were not submitting to conventions. But we'll likely submit to some maybe for the following year. So it may all data-wise balance out, but we'll see. We also have a lot of blackout dates that are on major con weekends. That eliminates a massive amount of conventions.
That's because for some weird reason, cons all like to book on the exact same weekend.
It's because all conventions want to be in June, July, or August. All of them. And unfortunately, our conflict weekends are not the same weekends.
Nope.
They are opposite weekends. So we lost all of June almost. Because of conflicts.
Pretty
and
close.
A large chunk of July because of conflicts. And then everything is just in August. And it's stop putting every convention in August. We could literally go to a con every weekend in August within a 3-hour radius from us. If we wanted to. August is packed. But.
Well, and of course, we live in BFE, so there's not any decent sized cons unless we're willing to drive at least 3 hours.
Well, and that's the other big issue that we have is we can't just pick up stuff locally. Conventions are going to have to be willing to legit pay for actual travel for us, which a lot of them are not going to want to do. Flights are absurdly expensive unless we can drive. Financially, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense to a con. So, we'll submit to them.
So expensive.
If they have to fly us, that's probably going to hurt our chances of being booked. One of our other issues is conventions don't understand podcast numbers. Our numbers don't look like Critical Role, nor will they ever, but they are very good for the type of podcast that we have, but those numbers are not the type of numbers they get. They understand the absurd amount of downloads Critical Role has, but not what we have. So the podcast numbers don't really help us because they don't necessarily understand them. And the big one is we don't want to work for free. Completely free. If I'm going to work for free, I'm just going to go to the con.
Yeah, I don't want to pay to work.
There's no benefit to us doing that. There's just literally no benefit. And we get it. There are a lot of people that have better numbers than us who will take a free gig. There are
good for them.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who can take just a booth because they have a business and it benefits them, or they have a sponsor who's helping to pay for them to be at the con. That's awesome. That's great. We're not going to do that because it doesn't benefit us in that way. We don't do this full time. This isn't our jobs. So, if it's your job, it's kind of like someone who works in Artist Alley. You're paying to be there to work. But then ideally the revenue you get makes up for it. But we're not in that position. So for us, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Well, and we are submitting both as cosplayers, but also as entertainers. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Really, since, 2019, we've only been booked as entertainers. FunkCon's kind of the first time in a while we've been booked more as cosplayers. And that's mostly because we can't do the live show because they don't really have 18 plus programming. But we are going to probably do the all ages show. Yeah, we haven't been booked as judges in eons. It's been entertainment for a long time. So we're working on some new shows and different fun entertainment content that we'll hopefully have done sometime towards the end of the year. If you want to see us at a con, you should submit us to the convention because that helps. It really does. Or when they do their little social media posts of who do you want as a guest in 2023, you should put us on the social media post.
Tell your friends to do the same.
Yeah, because that will ultimately drive whether or not they take interest in a guest.
Cons want to book people that their attendees want to see. So when you fill out your surveys or fill out the guesting suggestion forms or send your emails or respond on your socials, keep that in mind.
So instead of us focusing heavily on the next big giant competition, we're just going to make all our childhood cosplay dreams come true.
I mean, that's valid.
Right? I mean, we looked through our list of things we want to make and they're legit all old school. So get ready. Except for, I guess, Ninja Shadow isn't super old.
It just makes me happy.
Who doesn't want to cosplay an Otome game? Let's do it.
Yeah, it just makes me happy.
Right? That's basically what it is we're going to do whatever makes us happy this year. That's it.
Yeah.
We don't care if we're doing the perfect thing for this contest or we're doing this perfect thing to get this opportunity. We're just going to do whatever the hell we want. It's a weird concept. We haven't done that for a while, but
live our best lives.
We're just going to live our best lives and see what happens.
Yeah.
YOLO 2023. So, speaking of that, some of the things I'm hoping to do this year, since we aren't heavily consumed by one project, is I do want to try to compete by myself in solo performance and crafts. I haven't really done that. I've really only competed by myself once, and crafts wasn't involved. For me, I think it's more of a, I need to do it to realize that yes, your things are also at master's level. You no longer rely on Ash to make everything. You made almost all of our last project. It is a thing. It is much more evened out, but I just feel like I need to try to do it by myself once, just to do it. I do want to start working with some foam. I did buy Beverly Downen's foam crafting book. Hopefully I can start playing with some things in there. Might make some good old armor. Might throw it way back to the old school times for some armor. We'll see. I did randomly get some silk fans and I want to learn how to play with them. So I'm looking at different solo performance opportunity kind of things, because solo performance, especially for a contest, is much difficult, and they also typically significantly limit your time. So I'm looking at other things that I can use to help with that process if I go to do a performance by myself. And I was going to try to look for performance opportunities outside of con, but the more I look, the more I don't find them. So we'll see if anything appears, but in my area it's pretty much only burlesque. We'll see what happens. Not that I have anything against burlesque, but I don't know that I financially can do what some of these troops expect you to do, producing brand new costumes every month and that kind of thing. So, but I am going to try to finish costumes I started.
It's a good goal.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll finish Inoto. There's a couple small pieces missing from Harley, and then Oogie still needs, she's supposed to have detailed tights and arm socks, and there's a snake. There's a couple of detail things that are missing from Oogie. So finish Oogie up, just kind of fully complete things that are hanging out so that I don't have these partially started costumes all over the place. What? I know. I might make a stash costume. We'll see. I will have a lot of white and purple. So I was looking at one of the Harvest Goddesses from Harvest Moon because she's white and purple, just because I have a massive amount of this fabric after Hinoto's done, just to use it for something. I'm hopefully going to start Shiva, but I am super focused on making sure this wig is wearable, so she's going to take me a lot longer than I initially anticipated. I'm trying to decide what kind of fiber I want to use for the wig, whether I want to do yarn or actual wig hair, what type of inner structure I want to use, what different types of attachments I want to use, because of course she's a bodysuit. So hiding attachments like I did for Judar is much more difficult in a bodysuit. We'll see. There'll probably be some LEDs. We'll play with some LEDs and whatnot, but I don't want to be I'm going to finish her by this date, because I don't really want to rush through this project. She's been on my list for a long time, and she is a lot. But that's also because I'm going to make things that I want to make because I want to. So if I start on Shiva and then I want to make something else, I'm going to let myself do that instead of being you can only work on this one thing and that's it. because you need to get it done for the competition.
Nah.
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 Because now we're just going to pick things after they're done, so it doesn't matter.
I am continuing my D-stash, so I'm probably about 60% done with my house at this point. I really, really, really need to go through all of my cosplay craft room type things. So my con closet that has my costumes. I say closet, it's not a literal closet. But costumes, con fashions, accessories, shoes, wigs that I don't use, and a lot of half-started projects that I need to either, finish something, repair something, sell something, repurpose it, or donate it if it's salvageable, because I need it out of my house. I do want to try to go to a con just for fun. I don't really know what that looks like. I don't know if I will achieve that or not, because I feel like every time that I think I'm going to do it, it doesn't happen, and I end up working, whether it's just a panel or like, oh, we need help with this. And we're like, I can totally do that.
It is the curse that we bear.
It is the curse that we bear.
But we also like doing panels, so that's not necessarily not fun. Like, any excuse that I get to do our live show, I will do it, because it's a lot of fun.
It is. I also kind of feel like at this point I need a project that's 100% me. So, like, the benefit of having a partnership is you can skill swap and you can trade pieces, and especially if you're doing a group project, it's super, super efficient. It's awesome for quality control, because then like all of these types of pieces are going to be at the same level, so you don't have staggering types of different quality or use of materials, etc. But like, looking back at our catalog, I don't really remember when the last time there was something where I made it 100% by myself. I used to do it all the time. But
because it switched where you made everything and then it started like flipping.
But I mean, legit, like, looking back, I don't think I've done 100% of a single project since like our first year back.
Oh no, probably not. I mean, and I hadn't until Harley.
But I know, like, it's affected my self-esteem, especially like the last couple years when we haven't really been making anything.
Right.
Looking at you, imposter syndrome. I see you over there. Also, speaking of that, I have this really weird aversion to talking about projects, and I don't know what it is. With anybody, literally for years at this point, it makes me really uncomfortable. And I don't know how it started, but I have this very internalized, almost like fear of talking about them. And I don't know what exactly it is that I'm afraid of, but I know it's something that I need to work on. So that's a goal for 2023.
Well, because when you talk about it, then you have to do it. Maybe. I don't know. But it's in here, and it, like, the thought of it just causes me stress. That also means that you can slowly start giving me work in progress to post on our social media.
Yep. I do have a couple of solo builds I've been putting off for literally years. I need to figure out which one I want to do or not. I thought about just kind of playing with them and then seeing kind of where it takes me without really having a plan involved. Or they're all mostly sewn for their structure, and they've got structured undergarments underneath of them. They're 3 very different garments, but all the detail work is what you actually see. And that's the majority of the costume is the detail work. So I thought about just starting with some of those pieces and just seeing where it takes me. Feels relaxing to just be able to work on something like flowers or applique or painting, and then just there's no due date, so whenever you get to it, you get to it. And but no deadlines, just seeing what happens. I'm really, really tired of sewing. That's fair. I am also tired of sewing. I love sewing, so don't get me wrong, I do love sewing, but I feel like it's the only thing I've been able to do for cosplay and for the longest time, and I'm really tired of it. Oh, look at that. We're both on the wavelength where we both want to make things that aren't 100% sewing. Check that out. Yeah. Well, and I just miss doing like art type things. I used to do artist alleys back in the day. And while I don't think I would ever want to legit do like artist alley tables again, because I just personally don't have that kind of time, I think I'd like to just start making things just because I want to. I recognize that I kind of have a privilege with my career and my household finances where I can just make things because I want to without having to worry about how much the materials cost or what I'm going to do with the piece when I'm done, or if something doesn't end up working out, how much money I wasted, or if I'll be able to sell it and get my funds back. Just make it to make it and not have to worry about it. I miss that. So
there's a theme here. We're just going to make things.
Yeah, we're just going to make things with no deadlines because we want to, and it makes us happy.
We've got some very silly plans for some things as well that we cannot share at this time. But yes, it is the year of just trying stuff and making things and not worrying if it's the right thing. I think that's what I need most of all, is not worrying whether or not it's the perfect choice. We spend a lot of time researching and studying to figure out what the perfect choice is for a competition. And I don't want to anymore. It's too much stress. It puts too much emphasis on that project then. And then it also makes me feel like I can't do anything else because that has to take all the attention. So
yeah, that's another perk of having no deadlines, is that if you decide that you want to work on something else, you can. If I decide that I want to bead appliques one day, and then the next day I decide that I want to play with ribbon, and then the day after that I decide I want to make silk flowers, and the day after that I decide that I want to paint feathers, I can bounce around between all the projects because YOLO 2023.
It's such a weird concept. I haven't wrapped my head around it. I think that's why I need the doubling stream, because I need something to anchor myself, because there isn't that sense of urgency to make me constantly work on stuff. I have a photo shoot date for Joanna, so I'm working on Joanna because I have a photo shoot date, so she has a due date. But Hinata's just sitting there. I could be sewing flat fell seams for the rest of my life, but she's still sitting in a box. I know. I don't know why. Terrible decision. I mean,
it'll be pretty when it's done. I hate
She'll
sewing right now.
She'll be lovely when she's done, but I'm not going to want anything to do with sewing after this, which luckily, what's left for Oogie is not sewing, and what's left for Harley is not sewing. And then we'll see what I do after Hinoto, Harley, and Oogie are done. The only sewing on Shiva is the bodysuit. I may skip to an armor project, or I don't think I'll be able to skip to Sinbad because he's also flat-felled seams forever. So he's probably going to get tabled for a while.
You could just do his magic vessels.
I mean, I could just make
and then
all
worry
his...
about the sewing after all
true.
The metal bits are done.
His little dagger would be a good baby's first weapons project.
For his sword. Yeah. I would also like to mention that every time you say the word Joanna, obviously I know you're talking about Joanna the Goanna, but I automatically get the song from Sweeney Todd in my head every single time.
I'm talking about the best Disney princess.
She's a good girl.
Obviously, the egg is a couple thousand rhinestones, by the way.
As it should.
Oops! I had to buy more. So I was like, I'll just use some of the leftover ones from Harley. Yeah, I ran out, and I had to buy 2 more packs. Oops. I mean, having clear rhinestones around is not exactly a bad thing. Let's be honest. That's a staple in the stash.
Worth it.
That's been an interesting project, too, is I didn't actually have to sew anything. I just got to do the details, and it's been really nice. I had to skip the sewing and just do, detail work on her. And I'm like, this is kind of nice. I kind of like this.
That sounds nice.
This is nice.
That sounds nice.
It is nice.
I have a costume that I bought that's kind of like that I could do at some point. Because I bought Beto, but I hate all of her details. But the part that I really didn't want to do was all the crazy designs on the fabric. So I could just keep all the fabric bits and replace literally everything else.
I mean, Ning Wong needs a little bit of an upgrade, but we obviously have to do a photo shoot with those two at some point. So
yeah, at some point.
Obviously.
It's a good plan.
Our year of no plan. Which just means you guys need to join us on Instagram so you can get in real time updates on our plans, because that is where you will find them.
Yeah, because right now we don't have them.
Because we don't have them right now. So the most up to date you can stay with us is if you join us on Instagram at Lavi Cosplay.
True story.
So in between, you're still going to get some sort of an episode. If you are not already subscribed to the podcast on Spotify or Apple or whatever podcatcher you choose to use, please do so. That helps us a ton in other people seeing the podcast. You can also rate and review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Hi, executive producer.
Our executive producer climbed in my lap and started kissing me. So.
Is that so? Do you want to say hi to the people?
You say hello? No, you're going to be shy now.
Hello. Yeah, that's a microphone.
Say hi to
Yeah.
Let's not take a chunk out of this windscreen with your teeth.
He apparently
like
did take a chunk out of Ash's previous windscreen, so there's a piece missing.
Yes, that was for the other microphone, though, not on this one.
Because you're on your backup microphone right now, right?
This one is still good. It's still whole.
Well, I guess he didn't want to talk to all of you today. See, we gave him the opportunity to talk, and now he doesn't want to.
Yes. I'm sure you've heard him in the background literally this entire time.
He has been chattering in the background the entire time, but now we gave him the microphone and he doesn't want to talk.
Elle, did you see the ball go flying by my head? Yes.
Yes.
So I bought him an extra pack of these little plastic balls for this lovely toy that Elle gave us that, makes music and pops balls up into the air.
It's very obnoxious.
Well, all of the balls were on the mini trampoline that my brother bought for Christmas. So he was jumping on the trampoline, shooting the balls throughout the house, including right past my head.
He needed an extra hour in the ball pit.
He did need an extra hour in the ball pit, so.
You gotta look out for flying projectiles while you're recording.
Maybe if you're lucky, our executive producer one of these days will choose to join us on our Sunday stream.
I mean, he will probably run through at some point.
At some point. Yeah. It's inevitable.
I mean, it's inevitable that he's going to sneak into your crafting room and, run by at some point in time.
I have a magic new tool that I got. I bought it for myself for Christmas after several years. It's an iRobot.
Oh, nice.
His name is Dustin. He cleans my floor for me. Because, of course, obviously, I had to make my Roomba's name a pun.
Right. Oh, I got the, speaking of machines, I got the bias tape maker. Ooh. So I need to play with that. We'll see. I hear it works okay, but I really hate making bias tape, so we're going to see if this makes it better.
Ironing forever.
It does it for you. It just runs it. You run it through the machine, and it folds it, and it irons it for you. It's what I want in my life. I just want it to do its little thing, but sometimes I hear you have to pull it through for it. It doesn't go through.
I feel like anything to make bias tape making easier is probably worth it.
I will take a tweezers and pull it through. I don't care. Do I have to sit there and try to fold it? Because with my dexterity issues, that doesn't work very well for me. So if this machine does the little foldy thing for me, and then I have to pull it through so it, seals it, I don't care. Because my hands can't manage the bias tape folding at this point. It doesn't work very well for me. So we'll see if it works or not. I haven't played with it yet. But then I could also finish Hikaru. I left her off the list. Because I haven't been working on her because I need to make a stupid amount of gold bias tape for her outfit. I also have to do more foam work for her, so I guess she'd be another good foam project. And boot cover things, so we'll see.
YOLO 2023.
Yeah, it's just making things 2023, and we see what we have. Maybe wearable things, that'd be good.
Wearable things would be good.
Yeah. I mean, Harley and Oogie are wearable, so that's nice. Wearable things, but we also have two that match, because we have that problem right now.
Yeah, that would be weird.
Yeah, our matching costumes are not. So, well, Kogyoku and Judar actually aren't bad when you take, the 500 skirts off and, a ball or two off the wig. They're actually not bad at all. They're pretty reasonable. They don't take very long to get into either, so...
No,
so they're not
much
bad.
More manageable
yeah,
now.
They're pretty manageable. Yeah, with all those skirts gone, she's not too bad at all.
She's so much more comfortable without all of the skirts.
500 billion skirts. Stick with us. Join us for our shenanigans. We'll see you on the other side in March.
Yep. Wish us luck.
Yes.
May the odds be ever in our favor.
We'll see. Join us on the stream on Sunday, February 26th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll see what we're working on. I don't know yet.
It's a good plan.
We'll figure it out.
You don't know yet?
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But I'm Ash.
I'm Elle.
We are Lovey Cosplay.
And this is Shit Cosplayers Say. You've been listening to Shit Cosplayers Say, an LVC production. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Podcast SCS. Our website is lavicosplay.com. Have a fun, crazy con or cosplay-related story, absurd cosplay question, or just something in general to share with us? Email us at podcastscs@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and remember, just because you can doesn't mean you should.